close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. I see the light inside you, brighter than the skies. Hold on, just let us escape and fly away tonight. We have the world in our sight, and I know together we'll be alright. And you see, forever we will go.
Hello everyone. I am here
Hello.
with Glaucia and Neil. Neil, he's like the Chief Commerce Officer of Americas at OverActive, correctly, the pronunciation?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Uh, Neil, I think the first question we have for you is like, who is Neil? How he's started? The companies that he works. Tell me a little bit more about your career and the challenge you have.
Well, first off, very appreciative to be here. Thank you, Marcelo, for reaching out and connecting. Thrilled to talk to your audience and kind of explain a little bit about my business and myself. And I hope to have a really great conversation with both of you about Brazil and esports and the future. So, a little bit about me. I've been in the gaming and esports space for 13 years now. I started with a company called Virgin Gaming. It was a peer-to-peer wagering platform. We had 3 million members. It was primarily built around people meeting, competing, and playing against each other in sports titles, FIFA, Madden, NHL, NBA, and that was a really great business. We built that up and then sold that to a multi-billion-dollar um, theater conglomerate called Cineplex. And from 2015, I worked with Cineplex, and we built out two business streams. One was a competitive tournament operations platform, and then the second was what I really focused my time on. Was the largest collegiate esports league and tournament operator in the world, called the Collegiate Star League. And at our peak, we had about 80,000 student athletes, 1,800 schools competing, primarily in the United States and Canada. And we were awarding about $1 million of scholarships each year. So I did that business. And then right when the pandemic hit, we were very fortunate. We sold that business to a private equity firm, and that has now developed. They've sold again into a company called Play Versus. And that's the largest collegiate esports operator in the US right now. And really pleased to see that legacy carry on. That was the early part of my career. And then now where I'm at today, OverActive Media, we are the owners and operators of two distinct businesses. The first one being Movie Star Koi, which is in partnership with our biggest creator and shareholder, which is Ibai Llanos. Many people know Ibai. He hosts a major event called La Veleta del Año each year. He's got roughly 80 million followers across all of his social channels, and the largest Spanish-speaking creator on the planet. And we own teams in League of Legends and Pokemon and EAFC. Previously, we've held franchise teams in Valorant and CS2. And then the North American business, which I manage and oversee, we have the Call of Duty League team called Toronto Koi. And we compete in that league. And we've actually got a major event happening next weekend in Dallas that I'll be heading down for. So my main role is I focus on partnerships, any revenue generating activity. So advertising, joint ventures, M&A, anything that can be a new revenue stream. So that's me in a nutshell.
Mhm. Okay. I understand that you start like a career with like some challenges, and you have like a part of the universe and college there. And I have been work with college for a little bit, especially the universe scene. How was that for you? How was like the changing for university to professionals? What's the difference for work with universities?
Well, it's a fascinating space and very challenging to navigate. I would say when we first started, there was no scholarship programs in the United States. Um, but as we got some momentum, as we got some traction, the first university, actually called Robert Morris University out of Chicago, they offered the first scholarship for League of Legends. So athletes would get a scholarship the same way they would if they played soccer or basketball or football. And that was a really cool initiative. So we saw that happen in 2014. That was announced. And then by the time that we had built that business in 2020, when we sold it, there was over 400 schools offering scholarships to esports athletes. And that I'm really proud of that fact. I think we played a small role in seeing that movement and that growth, and allowing a lot of people to have their lives changed by being offered financial or academic assistance because they were elite video game players at their chosen title, whether that was League of Legends or Dota or Counter Strike or whatever their chosen passion was. But I would say it was very difficult to navigate because universities are academic institutions, but at their core, they're also a business. And a lot of the way that the universities looked at gaming and esports was as a new marketing and revenue stream for them. So you didn't see the big schools like University of Texas or University of Michigan or USC or some of these schools come on board to provide scholarships for their esports athletes. Well, what we saw was a lot of the smaller Division 1A or Division Division II schools actually offering those scholarships, because they looked at it and said, if we can start winning national championships in gaming and esports, we'll be able to drive a new class of student recruitment. And it worked in the earliest days. Robert Morris or Maryville or UC Irvine or some of these early pioneers. Um, but it was tough because the US is very big and it's very fractured. There's a lot of communication, but not a lot of symmetry when it comes to people collaborating and actually working towards developing a common good and creating that common initiative to grow the industry. So we've seen a lot of ebbs and flows, ups and downs within the industry, and I think we're in a really good spot now. I think a lot of people are in it for the right reasons, and you see a lot of great programs that are actually creating strong pathways. So the path to pros, but more importantly, creating curriculum that's developing the next generation of digital marketers and folks that have really good transferable skills that you might study sports marketing or you might study esports. But when you come out of university or college, you're actually prepared to enter the workforce with a lot of great skills. And a lot of them are centered or anchored in their time working with the gaming and esports club or getting their gaming and esports degree.
Yeah, it's something that I have been talking like because I worked, I say like, but I didn't work like receiving money. It was like a volunteer for my university in Brazil. And I usually say that, but they didn't listen to me. Like there is like a lot of transferable skills that you have in the gaming that you can change for your life. Even if you're going to play like the teamwork, communication, everything that you need, you know. I asked you because like I said, I worked in the university here, and for us, the university scene is like more, it's really famous too, but for the other side of the thing, you know. Also, I think Gaussias know, everything is famous because the parties, the group of friends, you know, they don't take care about like competition. For example, one of the hardest part for me when I was president of athletic, it was make the students don't drink before the game because they usually go,
Okay.
yeah, they go to the party, they get drunk, and they have to play the next day. So it's really hard, you know. This is why I asked. I had one question, which is like you said that's a big one, and how you see the university scene growing in the esports? Because I know that in the normal sports, like the corporative, you have like NFL, NHL, that I don't know if 100% of the players, but like most of the players, they come from the universities. And how do you see that in the university scene? Do you see that maybe one day they are going to the professional teams from the universities?
I think that's a really good and difficult question. With gamers, a lot of them peak at a different age or at a younger age. So if you're a top Valorant player or Counter-Strike player or Call of Duty player, you might start getting attention at 16 or 17, even before you go to university or college. So I would look at it in two ways. One, the first way is I don't think university and college needs to be a pathway to the pros. I think finding the best talent or the most elite talent and having them compete when they're at their best performance is critical. Right, you want the best players to play when they're ready. The difference between the NFL or NBA, for example, is when a student is 17 or 18 or 19, they might not have the physical capabilities to compete against, grown men who are 28, 29, 30 in the NFL or NBA because the physiologically they're just different. Whereas in gaming and esports, you might have a 17-year-old mid laner who is just as elite, just as well educated, has 8 or 9 years of practice, and can compete at the highest level from day one. So I don't think that universities need to be that path to pros. I think universities can be very complementary or can be very social, casual, or semi-competitive, and is that next tier of gaming and esports. One of the most important things that I find in the university level is the social side of it. How do you develop friends, lifelong friends? How do you develop relationships? How do you develop teamwork? How do you experience competition and how do you develop, communication and leadership and all of these different things that are so valuable from a life skill. And when you think about sports, a lot of Fortune 500 companies, their CEOs or their ELT are developed and composed of people who participated in college level sports. And the reason that is the tangible skills that you learn through dedication, through time, through leadership, through winning, through losing, create you or develop you for the business world. I think the same is true for gaming and esports, that being a part of something, being a part of a community or a club, being a leader, being able to communicate, being able to win, but more importantly, understanding how to lose develops people for the real world. And there's only that tip of the spear, the top 1% that will ever become pro or ever earn real money through gaming and competitions. But the other 99%, whether they become coaches, whether they become analysts, whether they become accountants or marketers or HR or salespeople, they can still be involved in the ecosystem and develop really great interpersonal skills and professional skills of how to be a great contributor.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The soft skills, they are developed. It doesn't matter in what market are you working on. Like you're gonna develop either way. So that's very important. But can you walk us through the $10 million Cineplex deal? Because how did you convince like a cinema giant to bet on the gaming on 2015?
Yeah, it was very early, but they were really great innovators. The leadership team there, I really grew fond of, and I think they're some of the best in the cinema industry. What they were looking at is, as a business, I think with the rise of Netflix and Prime and all of these other streaming platforms, you've seen a reduction in people going to the movies. And at the end of the day, the movie business is really based upon a couple of things. One, buying your movie ticket, and secondarily to that, buying popcorn, candy, and soda. And both of those are important, probably equally as important. So when we looked at having the conversations initially, we wanted to have a space where we could host really great video game tournaments. And Cineplex had, at that time, 162 cinemas across Canada, which is the country that I live in. So every major city and region was served by Cineplex, and they're a household name in our country. So initially we started talking about doing a joint venture of how do we take video game tournaments into the cinema. And as that progressed, they saw the opportunity for their audience to get younger. And they said, well, you've got this 3 million person database. We can serve ads, offers, promos. We can drive them into the cinema. And when they're in the cinema, they'll be buying popcorn, candy, and sodas. And whether or not they're watching a movie or playing video games, if we can get them into the four walls of the cinema, they're very valuable to us as a consumer. And they looked at most importantly, they've got a loyalty program called Scene. And I think roughly 10 or 12 million Canadians, which is 1/3 of our population, are loyalty members of this program. And they just looked at it and said, this makes too much sense. We want to have a part of this attention economy. Where the eyeballs go, the money follows. So they looked at it and said, the eyeballs are all on video games and esports. Everybody's playing, whether it's at home or whether it's locally or whether it's in tournaments. How can we bring them to a destination, the cinema, and make this the new home for that generation? And we did it for 5 years. We had a really great run. We hosted some of the biggest tournaments, not only in Canada, but in North America. Some key titles include Call of Duty or Uncharted or Madden, all of these different games. And it was a really successful endeavor. And then unfortunately with the pandemic, it just became really tough as they started focusing on their core business and conserving capital. And we also grew on the collegiate side to be so big and so prominent. 90% of our business was in the United States. So we made that decision strategically to sell our business into a United States-based private equity firm. And now that has grown the business even more than we ever could have dreamed.
Oh, yeah. And actually, thinking about the Rio 2016 e-games, what was the biggest challenge you had to bring like the e-sport into that environment of the Olympic atmosphere? How was it? How was the challenge in it?
Especially topic that you are in my country.
We were so honored to be there. We were thrilled to be in Brazil. That was my first ever time visiting Brazil. And it all came from a vision from a gentleman named Chester King, who founded the British Esports Federation, and he saw the movement that younger people were playing video games at the highest level, whether it's Call of Duty or Dota or Counter-Strike, and he saw that the Olympic movement was inevitably going to come, and he got first mover advantage. And he developed this IP called the E-Games. Honestly, I think we were a little bit too early, because in 2016 we were hosting it at the British House, which is at the base of the statue, the Jesus statue. It was a beautiful. I wish I could remember the name. It's a museum at the base of the mountain, and gorgeous spot. So all
It's
of
a
the British
museum.
Olympians that would win medals would come through there, and we had a dedicated area, and we had two showcases, two different titles. We flew people in from 8 different countries to compete for gold, silver, bronze medals, and it was an incredible showcase. We got so much media attention. There was an article I remember on the front page of the Los Angeles Times, and it was so 10 years ago now, and now we're really starting to see that Olympic movement and nation-based movement with Esports Nations Cup, that is founded by the Esports World Cup Foundation, that's going to take place for the first time this November. But we were pretty optimistic that people would rally behind their flags and rally behind their countries. And it wasn't about money. There was no prize money at all. It was simply just the opportunity to compete for Canada or the United States or Mexico or Germany or the United Kingdom and all these countries that we had. And we had a lot of fun. We learned a lot. I think that was the key. We worked with ESL. ESL had a Brazil office, and they did all of our production and organization. And it's one of those things I can look back fondly of, and I've got great memories with the guys who organized it, because it was a bit too early. It was a challenging endeavor, but the outcome was amazing. And now that we see that nation-based competition and the Olympics, whether or not they get involved in a formal way, but we can see that people really do care about competing for their country as much as they care about making money.
Oh, it's nice. I have like it's not a question, it's more about your opinion, because I'm doing this podcast and I have like different kind of guests. And one of my guests, I don't know if you know him, is Gregory. Do you know Gregory? He has a
I've heard of him,
company.
yeah.
Yes. And I really like the idea of his game. I don't know, just for you guys to understand, he has a game that he's a VR, like virtual reality, uh, of tennis. You know, like tennis, the normal game. And the
Yeah.
thing that I like it is that the movement of your hand is 98% of occurrence of the normal movement that you do in the tennis. I just for you know, like 2 years, I think 2 years ago, like 2024, I was doing a master in Australia at QT. And there, this kind of e-games, the reality is really strong. Like bike, like running, like tennis, everything that is really strong there. They play a lot more than the normal games, like Valorant, Dota, and everything. Do you know that maybe this can be like one new era, like the new way to play this kind of games? Because, for example, I imagine you are in Toronto.
Yes.
Yeah. I imagine, for example, if you want to play tennis in Toronto, I don't know, in the winter, it's getting really hard. You know,
It would be impossible. Yes,
yes.
absolutely.
So
Minus 23, right?
What do you think about this kind of games? Do you like it? Do you feel that it's going to be like maybe the future or anything?
Well, his specific game I'm not familiar with. I'd love to look it up and familiarize myself with what it is, but nobody knows what the next great esport title will be. I think we're all open-minded that anything is possible, and games, whether it's Stumble Guys or chess.com or some of these games that we never would have predicted would have been very popular, have become competitive esports. Even Genshin Impact, no one would have thought that would have been overly competitive, but we found a way to make it competitive. So yeah, I'd love to learn. I think there's all kinds of opportunities, and anything that leads with competition and also develops a big community has a world where we can make it a great esport. I think those are the two key things. It's got to be competitive, but it's also got to drive community, and you can't have one without the other. And as long as we saw this with some titles that have been created specifically as quote unquote the next great esport, and they might be really great competitive games, but if they are not able to support the community or vice versa, they just don't make it. So I'll look up this tennis game, and maybe I'll even give it a play, and maybe we'll get a chance to play together one day.
That's awesome. Actually, you talked about the pandemic. How was it for the gaming environment in this period of time? Because we were all in lockdown. We couldn't leave home. So how is it for the game industry? How much was, I know the impact was huge, but what was the changes? And actually after the pandemic, what has changed like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say the pandemic, we were all very, at the gate, we were very cautious and nervous, but I had just sold my business to the private equity firm in the middle of in the very beginning of the pandemic. And we saw that as the pandemic took off, it actually gave a chance for people to kind of sit back and reset. And you saw a resurgence of games like League of Legends. You saw Call of Duty, especially Warzone, take off. Fortnite came back in a very big way. But more importantly, it wasn't just people playing games for the sake of it. It was people playing games with their friends to be social. And instead of us being, locked in our homes and unable to socialize and communicate in the way that we did, people developed new ways to have parties or events or experiences, whether that was through Discord or whether that was through Unreal Engine. And I think it was a really special moment in time. And those three games in particular, Warzone became arguably one of the biggest games in North America. Fortnite became a global phenomenon again. It had a really large peak in 2017, 18, dipped off, and then it really came back. But what I became really inspired by from the games industry was our resilience and our grit. And you look at Unreal Engine and some of the concerts that they did that drove 10, 11, 12, 13 million viewers into, I think it was Snoop Dogg and Eminem's concert, or Travis Scott or Marshmello. You saw these concerts that they hosted, and people just wanted to come together and rally around something that they loved and were passionate about. And whether that was music or whether that was gaming, you saw a lot of like-minded people gathering. And the pandemic was one of the greatest things for the games industry. It was horrible worldwide. Don't get me wrong. There was a lot of tragic things, and it was very sad from a health perspective. And what I would say is my business at that time, we just launched a new business called eFuse in the United States, which was a destination for people to essentially meet, compete, and get discovered. And our business took off from the ground up in January, really 2021. And by later the next year, we were raising a bunch of money in a Series A, and we had 1 million members that had signed up for our platform. We had a lot of fun, and it was a really great time to be part of the games industry. And what we saw was when people started coming out of lockdown, the real community was, they wanted to get back to doing live events, and they wanted to get back to being social, and they wanted to meet together in public. And so you did see a drop off, or a bit of a rise and a fall. But what was really cool was a lot of the friendships and relationships that were developed through the pandemic were able to extend, and people now have lifelong friends that they met through gaming that are now some of their best friends or husbands or wives, now that we're out of the pandemic and beyond. So it was a weird moment in time, but it was also a very special moment for me.
Yeah, as you said, like it was a moment that people could, still have contact with others and try to remain, focused and not, because it was horrible. We had like horrible news every day. So just enjoying a little bit, like through gaming, it was a nice way to keep your mind busy. But thinking about that, because there's a new generation from the pandemic to now. So how did you see, not exactly the effects of the pandemic itself, but how have you been watching like the difference in the behavior of gamers, like the new generations? Do you see, or can you predict like how is it changing? Like what is the new behavior like of the new gamers?
I think that's a great question, and there is a very big shift. Pre-pandemic, the gaming community was very unique, toxic, and masculine. And I think coming out of the pandemic, you now see, a lot more people focused on important things: mental health,
Mm-hmm.
mindfulness,
Mm-hmm.
inclusivity, and just being aware of their surroundings. That we're all in this together. And I will say that the
Mm-hmm.
toxicity level, there's still a lot of room to grow and get better. But it's become, people are mindful of calling each other out for saying things that are considered rude or unbecoming or just cruel. And it's not as bad as it was before the pandemic. People are also much more aware of mental health. They'll talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
or they'll take breaks, or they're aware of meditation or therapy, or all of these kind of things that were kind of stigmas before the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic. And I would say I'm proud of our industry for recognizing some of this. I'm proud for a lot of the leaders and people that are in positions of power, so for actually standing up and calling out bad behavior and bad actors when they see this stuff
Mm-hmm.
happening that didn't necessarily take place before the pandemic. So I think we're getting
Mm-hmm.
there step by step. We have a long way to go, but I think the industry
Mm-hmm.
has evolved and become better and stronger and more inclusive, because we all went through that pandemic together. And it was very difficult for everybody, and it was more difficult for some
Mm-hmm.
people. But having great leadership and stewardship from people that are in a position of power and have a voice that other people listen to has actually been great.
Really nice, really nice. I know sometimes it's hard to work with like the Gen Z, but you know, I think that they are really great in doing different things than us. Uh, Coming back a little bit, like about the CSL that you worked, you grow that for, if I'm not crazy, 1,800 campus, right?
Yes.
Uh, Nice. Oh, this is so nice because I worked with like 60 universities and I felt like it's really hard. Imagine in 1,000. In your opinion, why is the collegiate, like the college scene, are so vital for a long term in esports, like for working with esports?
Well, I think it's such a critical age for people. You're generally 17 to 22 or 23 years old, and that's probably the age of the most growth for most people. You've got to move away from home, usually for the first time. You've got to take care of yourself. You've got to find new friends. You've got to find new community. You've got to find new outlets to socialize, and everybody finds it different. Everybody has their own path, and the way that we found that we were able to grow Collegiate Star League was really I had a dedicated team of people that were hyper passionate about the industry and the experience. And the CEO and the founder of that business, a gentleman by the name of Duran Parsi, he grew up through that system, and he developed his first on-campus program at his school. And from there, it developed from one school in California to two schools to four schools to eight schools to 16 schools. And then all of a sudden, it became across the country. You go from 50 schools to 100, 100 to 400, 400 to 800, 800 to 1800. And the reason why is people, not everybody wants to go out to the football game each weekend, or not everybody wants to go out to the bar, but people do want to find their tribe and find people that they belong with and find people that share their passions and interests. And for a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
that grew up, whether it's League of Legends or Valorant or Counter-Strike or Dota or FIFA, Madden, any of these games, if you find somebody
Mm-hmm.
that loves the game as much as you do, you can probably become pretty fast friends. And we even had games like Magic the Gathering and Super Smash Brothers, and games that you wouldn't necessarily always expect. So we had 15 different titles. So we had 15 different communities underneath the banner of the Collegiate Star League CSL. And underneath each of them was a subsection and a sub community. And it became a really special place for people to get to know each other, for people that are in the same school or same state or same country, to participate and compete and socialize. And you win as a group, you lose as a group, and you can celebrate those wins and losses. It just became a central hub on campus for socialization and community. So when I look back, I don't remember necessarily all of the champions each year, But I remember a lot of the great communities and a lot of the friendships that people developed and still hopefully maintain to this day. And that's why I think college in the United States is just so unique because it's such a part of your identity and it's such a part of your existence because you go away to school and you live in that campus bubble. Whereas most places, whether it's the UK or whether it's Turkey or Brazil or Canada, a lot of folks just they go to campus, but they commute from home. They might still live at home and they might live in the center of a major city. But for Alabama or Auburn or Michigan or some of these schools, they're kind of the city is based around their school, and their identity is their student reputation and their student experience, and that's why I think the U.S. is one of one in the world for collegiate athletics and collegiate community.
Yeah, what you said it was so true because I worked with that in the pandemic time, which was crazy, and I feel that it was a way to the students to don't get crazy, because they are closed
Yeah,
in their home, and they start, for example, now if you come to the Discord of the university, you almost don't have anyone there playing.
yeah,
But in the pandemic time, it was always crowded. Everyone was there. They trying to play new games to get new people. To know new people. It was like something that make a little bit easier the time. I know the pandemic time it was hard for everyone, but it was a little bit less hard.
yeah. Very well said. I think everyone was just looking for a place to feel welcome during the pandemic, and gaming was that outlet for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, moving on, like, what was your proudest moment regarding the scholarship money CSL distributed?
Yeah, you know what? There was a really great event that we held in Atlantic City. I think it was 2019. And we went into this was in New Jersey, and we had all kinds of different titles: League of Legends, Dota, Counter-Strike, Fortnite, Smash Brothers. I can't remember the exact amount of money, but over the course of the weekend, I think it was somewhere in the range of 400 or $500,000 that we awarded.
Mm-hmm,
But people played from October all the way through April. And
mm-hmm,
just seeing how proud people are and seeing not only the stories that are developed internally that we would put out across our platforms, but seeing ESPN or seeing all of these other outlets pick up news stories of young men and women winning their national championship for their game. And then as a subsection of that, also winning prize money that's life changing. If you win $20,000 for playing a game that you love, and that allows you to continue your education to get a master's degree or beyond. That's really
mm-hmm,
special, and that's really cool. So, I look back. I've got a lot of really proud moments throughout my career. The natural ones would be when you sold your business. That's a really cool, proud moment, and you wake up, and that can be life changing for a lot of people. But I actually look at it the more so in the amount of lives that have been changed or impacted, and the amount of cool experiences. Collegiate esports didn't really exist before Collegiate Star League, and there was a few other groups at the time. PESPO was the other one that really pioneered this collegiate esports initiative. And it's cool to look back and say, before we did this genre never existed, or people just never had opportunities to make money or scholarships or to be a part of teams or be coaches of teams or volunteers or whatever it may be. So I look back at the lives that are impacted, and even to this day, I get a lot of people, whether I'm at events in Saudi Arabia or China or in Europe or North America, people will come up to me and say,
mm-hmm,
"Hey, man, I remember you from CSL, and I was my coach, or I was on a team, or I was an analyst, and I remember this moment or that moment." And I can't measure, I don't measure success in my life based on anything except the amount of people that are impacted. And I really appreciate when people come and say hello and tell me the small impact that Collegiate Star League might have had on their lives, because many times I wouldn't have a clue. But it definitely warms my
mm-hmm,
heart to think that, you know, over the course of my 5 or 6 years with that business, we had over about 150,000 students participate in
mm-hmm.
our league, and every single one of those students would have their own story to tell and memories to share. And that's much more important to me than any money that we would have earned along the way.
Really nice. Uh, if I'm not crazy, after the CSL, you come to eFoods, right? The platform.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
And how was that? What was like the transition? What they teach you? Because if I'm not crazy, in the eFoods, you have like more a social side of the gaming, like in the CSL. How was that? How was this change?
eFuse was an amazing business, and it still exists today. The CEO there, Matthew Benson, I met when he was maybe 21 years old, and he's one of the smartest guys I've ever worked with. I'm really proud to have been able to join his team. We had some other great people along the way: Austin May and Patrick Klein and Herb May and Daniel and Trader. These guys are the best in class, and it was an honor for me to work there for 3 years. What we did was it initially started as a platform similar to LinkedIn, where gamers could connect to opportunities, whether that's scholarships or jobs or gig economy stuff or whatever there would be for the ability for people to find a role within the industry. So we were able to get 1 million people on the platform within the first year. But then what we found was the attrition was actually quite high, because once you find a great job, you're likely going to stay there for multiple years. So you don't necessarily need to come back to the platform and reuse it. So the business has actually evolved 2 times. We then developed into one of the best in class tournament operators in North America and maybe the world. We were doing a lot of Call of Duty Warzone events and a lot of Fortnite events, and also some Valorant events. So we were entrusted with Riot, with Epic, with Activision to do these major tournaments, and we were awarding millions of dollars in prizing each year. But more importantly, working with many of the top creators and influencers and teams, and that was awesome. We were generating hundreds and hundreds of millions of views, and from there, we actually developed a proprietary tech called Sidekick, which started serving as an ad technology platform for streamers. So when you're streaming, you could have a non-skippable ad that would come in as an overlay. So we were giving brand exposure to micro and macro level influencers that was just creating an entirely new vertical around advertising and for brands to communicate to gamers. And it still exists to the day. It's kind of the heart of the business right now. Um, and it's awesome. So that team, I really enjoyed working with them. They were based out of Columbus, Ohio, and for me, being based out of Toronto, I'd go into Columbus probably two weeks a month on average. So we worked in that business. We grew it from zero in revenue my first year, and I joined them, and then we went to 2 million, and then we went to 10 million, and then we went to 15 million or beyond. And that was a really fun journey, riding that wave of the pandemic, and we got some of the world's best investors to join along the ride, and still a lot of fun. But I got the call in April of 2024 from the OverActive Media Group, which is where I work now, and they had just had a transition of their chief commercial officer who had left, and they called me up and said, "Hey, this job is yours if you want it. We really want you to come work for us. We've seen all the great work you've done in the industry, from World Gaming to Collegiate Charlie to eFuse, and we've just acquired Movie Star Riders and Koi. We've already got Toronto Ultra at the time. But we're going to create one of the biggest gaming and esports organizations in the world, and we want you to come run the North American division." So it didn't take much to look at that opportunity and say, okay, they've got a 15,000 square foot office in Toronto. I've always admired the leadership of guys like Adam Adamu and Sheldon Pollock, who is the co-founder and chairman. And as soon as I got a chance to meet these guys and chat with them, and it was a no-brainer. I joined the business immediately, and I still stay in touch with the eFuse guys every day and almost every week for sure. And we talk about how we work together, but overactive and what we're doing, not only in Canada and North America, but in Spain, having the biggest Spanish-speaking influencer on the planet named Ibai just gives us that advantage that when I think of biggest esports clubs in the world, whether it's T1 or Team Liquid or G2 or Loud, which is Brazil based, I think we're right there alongside them. And what we're doing, we're going to change the world over the next couple of years, because we've got a lot of ambition, and we've got a great vision and great mission, and we will be one of the 5 biggest esports organizations on the planet over the next few years.
That's very interesting. And if let's talk about the partners a little bit. Just for example, nowadays, how when you think about like other industries, they want to make a partnership with esports. Usually, which one of them and what is their purpose? For example, if I think about a bank, would they want to partnership with a esport company, and how would they do that? How do you connect both those environments to give value to the esport industry? And also, what metrics are they looking for?
Yeah, really good question. And I think a lot of people will be intrigued by the answer. It's not about making a presentation and saying, here's all the great things that we can do and deliver and then taking a check and cashing it, but it's really a collaborative approach. So I'll give an example, which is Bell, which is our biggest partner and a telecommunications company. So when they look at us as a gaming organization, they know that our audience is 18 to 34-year-old, primarily male. It's about a 60-40 split. So primarily male. And their main goal is, okay, they're a telco company. So they sell cell phones, they sell television networks, and they sell internet. And their main thing is, how can we be additive to the experience? People love gaming, but people don't love marketing. And when we think about what we do with Bell is we integrate them into every experience that we've got. So we do a behind the scenes documentary of every major event that we go to called the Bell Blueprint. And that gives fans a snapshot into the life of our gamers, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We don't hide from any questions, but we want to show them that their experiences are real and that the challenges are open for all to explore. But more importantly, we look at what their key initiatives are. With Bell, their key mission right now is connection. So we talk about connecting our fans together, and whether that's connection through gaming, whether that's connection through experiences, whether that's connection through events. That's very important to us. So the message should seem authentic. It should be genuine, and it should feel very natural that when we do something, for example, when we host a major event and there's 11,000 people that come through Call of Duty Championship weekend, that's a marquee experience. That's a very special time. So the best fan area, the best experience, the most premium tickets is the Bell Fan Zone. And if you're a part of that, you understand the connection back to Bell is they're a premium service and they get a premium fan experience. And that's really important because all the fans then get swag and giveaways and special merchandise, all these kind of things that go above and beyond. So when we look at brands in traditional soccer or football, or the jersey patch might be the most valuable thing, or they might have billboards around the arenas. That's great for very established sports that are looking to generate hundreds of millions of eyeballs. But what we're trying to do is create authentic experiences that drive awareness, increase consumer behavior and consideration. So when they do go to make a purchase, and whether it's one of telco A, B, or C, they choose telco A, which is Bell, because of their association with Toronto Koi and all the great things that we do. Whether it's the experiences, the events, the content, the promos, contests, giveaways, and beyond. So it takes a long time. You've got to know your partner as well as you know yourself to be able to drive home their key messaging while also remaining true to your identity and building your brand alongside it.
Oh, really nice. Change a little bit of topic. Let's keep following the time. We still working as a strategic advisor at the Fuse, right?
Yeah, so I communicate with the CEO pretty often. I love their business. We do a lot of work with them actually, even still. But yeah, I speak to them sometimes every day, sometimes every week. So I'm still a strategic advisor and really love those guys.
Yes. And now you are the CCO of Americas at OverActive Media, right?
Yes, correct.
I have seen a little bit about your LinkedIn before the podcast, and my question is, what is your primary mission for the Toronto Ultra and Toronto Defiant? Defiant is correct?
Yes, correct.
Defiant
Um,
brand.
yeah, so Toronto Ultra, we've actually just renamed to Toronto Koi. So Koi is our European brand under Movie Star Koi. So we've brought together our two teams, Toronto Koi and now Movistar Koi, to become one global property. So when you think of, my North Star in the industry is Team Liquid, and they've got teams all around the world. So they're united under one brand, and now we're united under one brand. We've actually sunset we've sunset the Toronto Defiant brand. It's an Overwatch team, so we've actually set that aside, and we may come back to that one day. But for now, it's not an active property. So we're really focused on just Koi. My main role there is generating revenue. So any advertising, any sponsorships, any partnerships. If we're going to do any M&As or mergers and acquisitions, or new business ventures. And one of the things I'm most excited about is a property that we've done a joint venture on called Active Voices. So this allows us to democratize language globally. So we could be doing this podcast in English, and Active Voices is an AI-enabled tool that actually allows us to clone our voices with us maintaining the ownership of that voice and keeping the rhythm, the flow, the energy, the experience of it all natural, and translating it to any language globally. So we could do it in Portuguese, we could do it in Mandarin, we could do it in Hindi, and it would still sound like you, and it would still sound like me, and it's just a game changer when it comes to creating global audience for creators, for influencers, or for media. So I'm spending probably half of my days working on that, and it's been really fun. We're talking to podcast studios, we're talking to movie studios, we're talking to networks, we're talking to some of the biggest creators on the planet. So there's the esports side of our business, and then now there's the tech side of our business, which is just as fun and exciting, and really bullish on where we're going to go with Active Voices.
Nice. And talk about me. Talk about Latin America. How do you see Latin America? What is the potential? You see something different? How do we see that?
I think it's the biggest untapped market in the world right now for gaming and esports. We've got a very keen focus on it. With eBuy and our Spanish group, they're so focused on creating world-class teams that are winning at the highest level. We actually had a Fortnite team, I believe it was, out of Mexico last year. We had a Free Fire team. We're really excited to continue to explore. I think there's so much talent that just needs the opportunity to be elevated and put onto the global stage. Mexico is a key, Argentina, Brazil, Peru. All of these different countries have a lot of talent, but just don't have that same discovery pipeline the way that Europe or North America does. So, don't be surprised if you see Movistar Koi making big moves into South America and Latin America. We want to. We're actively looking. We would love to have new teams. I know, especially in Brazil, there's so much Counter-Strike talent that we would be foolish not to be looking there. So if you have any tips, please let me know. But we really want to become a big player and a big team in the region, and are actively looking every day for new talent and new ways to get involved. So stay close, and if you have any tips, please let me know.
No, just talk to me. Don't worry, I can help you. I am not like the best one in Brazil, but I have like some experience. I can try to help you.
I like that. Thank you.
You are good.
I have a question, actually. Recently, we've been seeing a lot of things about bets here in Brazil. I see an advertised like piece at least once a day. So, how big is the role of betting in the industry's future for e-games?
I don't have the answer to this. I think betting has become a very important part of the ecosystem. We don't currently have a betting partner. Our community has said quite vocally that they don't like betting as a vertical. That doesn't mean we won't be a part of it one day, but I think betting has a place, and I think betting has very big dollars, the same way that other things like energy drinks have very big dollars, or telco companies have very big dollars. And teams, organizations, if they want to compete on the global scale, they need to go where the dollars are. And especially in Counter-Strike, with the skin sales and the betting handle, a lot of money is already naturally flowing through the industry. So whether it's Vitality, or whether it's FaZe, or whether it's Team Liquid, all of these teams that have just signed betting deals, there is an important role to play. I think it's very valuable, and the betting organizations must see a return, which is new customer acquisitions or the amount of wagers that they're placing. Um, but for us, we're very community centric. We believe in our our community and our constituents and stakeholders having their say, and they've been very vocal against betting right now, and that's why we've decided not to do it. I think we would continue to evaluate
Mhm.
the opportunity. It would need to make sense for us before we would
Mhm.
get into betting, but um, it's here to stay, and I don't want to say that it's good or bad. I think it's going to be a part of the
Mhm.
future, the same way it's a very big part of professional sports. And
Mhm.
I think each club needs to make the decision that makes sense for them and continue forward. We're all about um, we're all about understanding what the use case is and then being practical about it. So I think in North America, we see betting ads everywhere we go. In Europe, we see betting ads all over the place. Um, so we'll see. We'll stay close to it, and I won't say never. But right now, we've made the conscious decision not to participate in having a betting partner.
Great. You've talked about influencers previously. How do you identify those influences that have matched to your company, etc.? And actually, how do you identify new players, like new influencers that you look at them and, oh, they have potential to become big and we want to join to be a sponsor or have some kind of relationship with them?
Well, we've got a team of people that are always consuming content and on the lookout for the
Mhm.
next great player, the next great coach, the next great influencer, the next great content team. And a lot of it just comes down to, are they aligned with our values? Would this make sense for our brand to partner with someone like that? When I think of brand risk and opportunity, we're creating a brand that's global, that's inclusive, that's competitive, that's social, that's uh, community centric. And you want to make sure that people that are going to represent your brand understand that and are aligned with you. So we obviously want to have the biggest talent in the world, and we want to have people that are going to become emerging stars and the next superstar of the next generation. But it's very tough, right? It's very tough to identify that, and you've got to grow talent at home. And what we see is, when you look at our co-streams for the LEC, which is our League of Legends European side, is our co-stream is anchored by Ebuy, who's the biggest Spanish-speaking influencer on the planet. But what he does is he actually brings in multiple other co-streamers into his event and experience, and a lot of that is cultivating and educating and raising up and maturing that talent to become ready to take that next step. So it's a tough task. There's no perfect science. I'll be the first to admit that I don't make those decisions. I've got a team of really talented people that work on our organization that identify talent. They take risks. They sign them. Sometimes they work out. Sometimes they don't. But I think we're one of the better ones at maintaining our authenticity, staying true to our values, and finding people that are going to help grow the brand and be very positive influences on the community. And we don't just chase eyeballs, and we don't just chase money, but it's very value based for who's going to work with Movie Star Koi and Toronto Koi.
Really nice. Uh, Now you are doing like you are going to like the final questions, like three final questions. Like I said, is
Sure.
about around 1 hour, and probably the questions more about like advertise and tips that you can give for people. Uh, you usually have one girl here that her name is Letícia, and she usually asks one question that I think is really important. If you are 20 years old and you have to and you need to give like some advices for someone who wants to start a career in game, what was this advice that you gave, and what is best for him, like learn how to play, how to code, maybe how to sell? What is the most valuable skill that they need to have now for to work in a gaming area?
That's a very difficult question because it depends on the person completely. It depends on the personality, their individual, and their traits. But here's my advice: if you're 20 years old and you want to make an impact in the industry and you want to find your path, uh, there's two things that I would say. The first thing is you need to show up and be interested, and you need to be interesting. I'll say that again. You need to be interested and you need to be interesting. So if somebody comes to me and they're interested in what I've been doing and they make a comment saying, whether it's on LinkedIn or whether it's on email, hey, Neil, I'm very interested in this, this, and this that you have achieved. And then they say, I think my perspective would be, what if we did this, this, and this? That makes them interested in my journey and interesting that they might have a new solution or a new idea or a new concept. When people will message me out of the blue and say, I want a job, here's my resume, I'm not going to respond to that. I'm unfortunately, too busy, and that's outside of the scope of what I do. But people have the opportunity to take a little bit of time, and there's no need to message 100 people. If you craft a message to 5 key people that you think would be very valuable and important for you to get to know, and you take the appropriate amount of time to be interested in their journey and to highlight that and to be interesting to them in things that you can add from a value perspective back to them, you'll probably get their attention and you'll probably get a response. And if you message 5 people and you get 3 responses, that's pretty good. If you message 100 people a generic message, you'll probably get 0 responses. The other thing, so that's the first point. Be interested and be interesting. The other thing I would say is we are so democratized globally now because of the internet that if you want to work harder than anybody else, you will get noticed. And if you put in more time, energy, effort, thought, it doesn't matter to me if you're in Brazil or India, New Zealand, or Hawaii. If you put in the time, energy, effort, you'll eventually get noticed. And that didn't exist 25 years ago. You had to be in a circumstance where you were in New York City and hopefully you could meet the hiring manager, or maybe you could be identified by somebody in that business. But now you've got so many tools from X to LinkedIn to Discord and beyond that you can have access to almost anybody in the world if you just continually have that persistence and grit and mentality that this is what you want, you'll find a way. So that's my advice. And I stand firmly behind both of those.
Very interesting. And what is the most cringeworthy thing a traditional brand can do when trying to talk to the gaming community?
Wow. Well, that's a great that's a great question. I would say there's times there's one example that I've given for years now, and it's Buffalo Wild Wings, which is a big US based restaurant. And they were a big sponsor of a company of a league called E-League, which was based on TBS. And Buffalo Wild Wings is traditionally known for football and basketball, and it's a sports bar, and they eat chicken wings and drink beer. And they sponsored, I think it was a Counter-Strike tournament, and a bunch of people went into their local Buffalo Wild Wings and said, "Hey, so appreciative of your sponsorship. Can we throw on the Counter-Strike tournament?" And the manager laughed at them and said, "This is a sports bar. We don't show video games." And the patrons then left and kind of went away and shook their head. And that was just such a disconnect, and that's so cringeworthy, in my opinion, because at the corporate level, they had made that decision and dedication that they were going to put financial contribution towards a sponsorship. And at the local level, whoever the local franchisee was, obviously wasn't aware that they were a partner or a sponsor of this event. And I don't want to be rude, but they didn't put on the program in the establishment that was a sponsor of it. And that's just the disconnect that'll make those people shake their head and walk away, and probably lose trust and confidence and credibility in Buffalo Wild Wings. And the crazy thing is, this is probably 7 or 8 years ago. And when you ask me that question, this is the story that I point to. So it's got longevity, and it's got legs here. That's a really unfortunate moment in time, and that's cringeworthy, right? I think be genuine, be authentic. If it makes sense for your brand, lean into it. If it doesn't make sense for your brand, don't try and force something that isn't natural.
It's something that happens all the time. They try to do like things that work with the time. For example, when you have LGBT, the company starts to be LGBT. When it's like a
Right.
time to work with gamers, they start to say like, oh, you are gamer, you know. So just try to be like authentic, and everyone is going to understand. My final
I will
question.
give you guys,
Tell.
just before you say it, I will give credit to Brazil. One of the best activations I saw was with Loud and Burger King. And I thought Burger King went all in, and Loud had all of their greatest influencers and creators a part of it. And I remember I kind of stood up and took notice and said, that's a great relationship between Loud and Burger King. And I was really proud of that one. So shout out to Brazil and Burger King Brazil for stepping up and doing that.
Yeah, no, Loud is really good doing that for kind of advertising and everything. And Burger King too. I don't know if you saw. I'm pretty sure that you see that the Burger King that the advertise that he did with FIFA, that they sponsor a team from the third division in FIFA, in the real life, and because of the real life, they go to the FIFA gaming, and
Oh, yes.
they offer like some hamburgers for people who was playing. Like Burger King usually are really good with like gamings and everything.
Yeah, no, I did see that. That was genius. I will say
Yes.
that's one of the best advertisements. I didn't know that was Brazil based.
No, no,
Um,
they are not Brazil
but
based. They are from
oh, they
England, if I'm
weren't.
not crazy. They are from
Okay.
England.
I would say I read about that, and I thought after the fact that is one of the most guerrilla, um, amazingly guerrilla ambush tactics in marketing. And whoever developed that campaign deserves an award because that was
Yes,
special.
it was amazing. There are a lot of like things in games that they come to like real life. I don't know if you saw, there is a soccer player, Firmino. He's really famous in Brazil, and he was hired for a team because the the son of the coach, they play like Football Manager. I don't know if you know this game, Football Manager.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
in
yeah.
Football Manager, he was so amazing, and the son say for his dad like, hey dad, see this guy, he's so amazing in the game, just like put someone watching him, and now he's one of the best players in the world. They are,
Amazing.
yes. My final question is like a question for gaming, like what for you, what's like a final boss challenging for the esports in the next years?
Create sustainability. I think that's the critical thing right now. The games industry, from the publisher level, is pretty healthy. From the organizational level, you see teams come and go, and events and experiences come and go. I think we've got to find a model where teams can be sustainable. And when I say sustainable, what I really mean is teams can find a way to become profitable and less reliant on whether it's venture capital money or outside investment or strictly sponsorships. And I think that is the biggest challenge. That's the biggest threat to our industry right now. You've seen an incredible evolution with folks like the Esports World Cup and the soon to be Esports Nations Cup of creating long term sustainable uh, tournaments and events that clubs can participate in. But I think domestically, whether it's in the US or Spain or um, UK, China, Brazil, beyond, finding a way that these organizations can become more predictable in their revenue streams, whether that's in-game microtransactions or whether that's long-term partnerships with AAA brands, or whether the player salaries just fall more in line with in proportion to revenues generated. That's my challenge to the industry. That's my challenge to, frankly, myself. And I don't think it's an easy solution. It's going to take a long time. And what you've seen over the last 2 or 3 or 4 years is a lot of the organizations that have been, tier two and tier three have just kind of gone away. And now you've got your 40, 50, 60 clubs globally that are really your market leaders that are fighting for that sustainability. And many have a good path. Our business, for example, has a very strong path forward and large revenue streams that are diversified, from in-game transactions, which are the skins, to sponsorships, to partnerships, to events and experiences, to technology-enabled businesses like Active Voices and beyond. So that's my challenge to the industry, and that's what I stay up late at night thinking about is how can we create an ecosystem that's strong, that's healthy, that support each other, because that's how we're going to see this thing grow and continue to evolve. And I think we should be the second biggest sport on the planet, probably behind soccer, in our lifetime. I think we're well on our way there, but we've got to level set and right size the economics to make sure that everybody can feed and not just the major publishers.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. Especially, I think after the pandemic, I think they have like a big bubble. Everyone was watching. Then after that, we had like some cuts, but it's like the biggest challenge. Hello, guys. Thank you very much, Neil. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your experience, everything that you share with us. You have anything that you want to say, like where they can find you? I don't know, make one advertising about a project that you are doing.
Well, I'm really grateful to be here, and thank you for allowing me the platform to speak with you both today. I had a really great time. I thought your questions were very thoughtful, and thank you. I would love anybody to follow me on LinkedIn. I post most of my updates there. I'm very easy to find. Neil Duffy on LinkedIn. Please, I will accept you. I'll join you. And if you have a message, I'd love to communicate with you all. And I just want really great people to be involved in the industry. We do really cool things every day. We wake up, we're all motivated and ambitious, and the more people that work together, we can create something pretty special. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of this, and most importantly, thank you for having me.
Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to share some cuts after this program, like in the whole week. And thank you very much, Glaucia. It was a pleasure to have you here. And
Thank
see you guys.
See you.
Thank you all.